Come on now, fellas! We've got to answer the bell. Now let's go!
Welcome into Main Street Sports today on this Monday, December 19th. I'm Maurice Patton, Justin Kulik pushing buttons, Chris Yao taking care of sick youngsters. So it's just me, Justin, and you guys. Thanks for joining us here. Big weekend as we had our first weekend of bowl competition, I guess, and a couple of big UT basketball games. Oh, and the Titans played. So we're going to get into all of that and more here in our our next segment. At around 2:20, we'll be bringing in Terry McCormick of TitanInsider.com to talk a little Titans as they went out to the West Coast this weekend, took on the Los Angeles Chargers, and, well, let's just say that ultimately they did what most of us expected them to do. Later in the show, we will be joined by Caleb Calhoun of Off the Hook Sports out of Knoxville, again, to talk a little Tennessee basketball, as both the Volunteers and the Lady Volunteers also went out west. Maybe it's a West Coast thing. I don't know. But both of them had West Coast trips this weekend, and both of them came up a little short. But we're going to get into a little bit of that as well. So, Justin, hopefully your weekend was better than the Titans, the Vols, the Lady Vols, the Predators, and John Morant's.
Yeah, man. Honestly, I didn't quite catch the John Morant thing. What happened to him? What happened with his?
Well, it's depending on who you ask, I guess. It seemed as if he was minding his own business during the first quarter of their game out at Oklahoma City. I guess it was Saturday night. And
Really?
Discussing something with a fan, and suddenly got his second technical foul and watched the rest of the game from the locker room.
I did hear about that. I heard he got ejected. I didn't know what for. That is unfortunate. And like you said, though, it ties perfectly with Tennessee sports this past weekend.
I mean, it just kind of was part of the demise from from east to west, I guess. So yeah, it was a tough week sports wise across Tennessee. Literally. So again, we'll get into more of that other stuff here in a bit. But I guess, especially with it being the weekend and everything that we have going on typically on weekends, and with one person handling this weekend scores and tonight's schedule. Let's get into the rundown.
This is the rundown.
The Monday rundown is brought to you by Zion Christian Academy. ZCA offers a faith-based, Christ-centered education in Murray County. Give them a call today at 931-388-5831 or visit zioneagles.org to schedule your appointment today. Zion Christian Academy, prepared for college, equipped for purpose. Here we go. Friday's girls basketball scores. It was Beach defeating Ensworth 48-37. Donaldson Christian Academy with a 44-41 win over Battleground Academy. Brentwood defeated Independence 56-34. It was Cheatham County 81, Montgomery Central 24. Clarksville Academy with a 46-41 win over East Hickman. Riverdale defeated Clarksville Northeast 61-39. Page with a 54-42 win at Columbia Central. Creekwood down cross county rival Dixon County 59-38. Ezel Harding defeated West Creek 54-37. It was Columbia Academy in a heartstopper 49-47 at Fayetteville. Eagleville with a 47-28 win over Forest. Blackman edged Franklin County 63-61. Friendship Christian defeated Mount Juliet Christian 60-13. Athens, Alabama with a 68-31 win over Giles County. Murfreesboro Central 80, Glencliff 6. Nashville Christian with a 56-43 win over Good Pasture. Community 55, Harper 35. Stewart's Creek 43, Hendersonville 35. Hillsboro 55, Siegel 28. Greenbrier with a 68-55 win over Joe Burns. Knoxville Webb defeated Lebanon 51-43. Nolensville with a 52-39 win over Laverne. Lawrence County held off Summertown 64-60. Lewis County with a 40-38 win over Santa Fe. Baylor defeated Lipscomb Academy 51-41. Middle Tennessee Christian 58. Clarksville Christian 43. Mount Juliet with a 60-45 win over Smyrna. Richland defeated Mount Pleasant 68-25. Oakland down Oak Ridge 58-55. Portland with a 44-36 win over East Robertson. Ravenwood defeated Franklin 66-47. Rockville with a 62-27 win over Pearl Cone. Ross View 59. Wilson Central 29. Station Camp 58. Centennial 41. Green Hill with a 60-54 win over Summit. Sycamore down Springfield 59-33. And Gallatin with a 71-34 win over Westmoreland's Lady Eagles. In boys basketball, it was Ensworth 59, Beach 49. Battleground Academy with a 67-54 win over Donaldson Christian. Independence 47, Brentwood 42, Cheatham County 80, Montgomery Central 59, Brentwood Academy 64, Christian Brothers 57, Riverdale 68, Clarksville Northeast 63, Page with a 3-point win 58-55 at Columbia Central. Dixon County defeated Creekwood 45-42, Columbia Academy with a 51-46 win at Fayetteville. Eagleville defeated Forest 52-32, Blackman with a 49-44 win over Franklin County. Davidson Academy defeated Franklin Road Academy 71-63. Friendship Christian with an 80-30 win over Mount Juliet Christian. It was Athens, Alabama 57, Giles County 55. Murfreesboro Central with a 53-50 win over Glencliff. Good Pasture defeated Nashville Christian 82-42. Harpeth with a 54-39 win over Community. Hendersonville defeated Stewart's Creek 56-43. Hunters Lane with a 68-28 win over Lighthouse Christian of Antioch. Greenbrier defeated Joe Burns 61-42. It was Knoxville Webb 78, Lebanon 52. Nolensville with a 47-40 win over Laverne. Lawrence County 89, Summertown 69. Santa Fe defeated Lewis County 75-64. Lipscomb Academy with a 74-52 win over Pearl Cone. Montgomery Bell Academy 63, Tennessee Heat 50. Middle Tennessee Christian 73, Clarksville Christian 29. Richland with a 50-39 win over Mount Pleasant. Oak Ridge defeated Oakland 65-56. East Robertson with a 55-44 win over Portland. Providence Christian defeated Lead Academy 66-36. Ravenwood with a last-second shot downs Franklin 47-44. Smyrna with a 59-52 win over Mount Juliet. Station Camp 56, Centennial 33. Green Hill down Summit 72-41. It was Springfield 60, Sycamore 55. Christ Presbyterian Academy with a 66-60 win over University School of Nashville. Gallatin 66, Westmoreland 62, and White House Heritage with a 72-66 win over White House. That was all on Friday night. Saturday's girls basketball action. Grace Christian of Franklin defeated Antioch 57-31. It was Blackman defeating Huntsville Lee 63-30. Excuse me. Clarksville Academy with a 77-7. No, stop. Scratch. Clarksville Academy 77. Clarksville Northeast 24. Coffee County 73. East Nashville 39. Battleground Academy 47. Davidson Academy 45. Donaldson Christian 44, Franklin Road Academy 31. Friendship Christian with a 67-12 win over Kip of Nashville. Lebanon defeated Fulton 43-25. Cornersville downed Giles County 57-45. Pope Prep 33. Chattanooga Girls Prep 31. Nixa of Missouri 45. Hillsboro 41. Pickett County defeated East Robertson 72-40, and Siegel with a 51-39 win over Pearl Cone. Saturday boys action. Grace Christian out of Franklin defeated Antioch 56-51. There we go. Davidson Academy 63. Battleground Academy 59. Franklin Road Academy 71. Donaldson Christian 58. Friendship Christian 79. Kip of Nashville 45. Giles County with a 69-35 win over Cornersville. Richmond of North Carolina defeated Lebanon 80-53. It was East Robertson edging Pickett County 66-63, and Montgomery Bell Academy with a 44-36 win over Providence Christian. Women's basketball action over the weekend. Georgia defeated Belmont 66-55. It was Stanford 77, Tennessee 70 yesterday. Vanderbilt held off Lipscomb 72-71 in overtime. University of Cumberland's defeated Cumberland 68-52. Georgetown College with a 67-58 win over UT Southern, and Malone defeated Trevecca 77-64. In men's action over the weekend, it was Georgetown College 80, UT Southern 73. Cumberland with a 79-70 win over the University of the Cumberlands, and Malone completed the sweep of Belmont 57-45. NHL action. It was the Colorado Avalanche dealing the Nashville Predators a 3-1 loss, extending the Predators' losing streak to 6. NBA action, as we mentioned, the Oklahoma City Thunder defeated Memphis 115-109. NFL action on Sunday, the Chargers 17, the Titans 14. That's it on results. Today's schedule. Doubleheader high school basketball. Zion Christian is at Dixon Christian Academy beginning at 6 o'clock with the women, girls, boys to follow. Girls basketball action. These games have been played. We don't have scores, sorry, but Blackman played Hillsboro. Rossview played Brentwood Academy. Clarksville may still be in progress against Liberty Creek. That was a 1 o'clock start. At 3 o'clock, Cheatham County plays Mount Juliet. Also at 3 o'clock, Springfield plays Hendersonville. Page plays Stewart's Creek, and Loretto plays University School of Jackson. At 4 o'clock, Hume Fogg plays White House Heritage, and this can't be right because we've got Hume Fogg and White House Heritage, and we've got Joe Burns at White House Heritage, and both of those are at 4 o'clock. I don't think that's accurate, so check your local listings. At 5 o'clock, STEM Academy is at Friendship Christian. Also, at 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock, Sycamore is at Gallatin. Green Hill is at Independence. Harpeth Hall is at Beach at 7. Pope Prep is at Portland at 7:30. Boys basketball today. This one's already a final. Lawrence County edged visiting Columbia Central 74-73. Also early games today. Tennessee Heat took on Rockvale, Stewart's Creek, and East Hickman. Riverdale and Cascade. Murfreesboro Central and Richland were playing down in Lawrenceburg. 1 o'clock start, Forest and Siegel. Again, that one may still be ongoing, as perhaps is the 1:30 matchup with Westmoreland at Davidson Academy. Here in a few minutes at 2:30, Russellville, Kentucky meets Liberty Creek. Also at 2:30, DeKalb County and Mount Juliet. Ezel Harding plays Whites Creek at 3:20. At 4 o'clock, Western Kentucky Homeschool plays Spring Hill. That's in a tournament up in Kentucky, by the way. At 4:30, Springfield takes on Hendersonville. Christ Presbyterian and Smyrna. East Robertson and STEM Academy. That is at STEM Academy at 4:30. At 5:30, Bearden and Franklin meet. Also at 5:30, Hume Fogg plays White House Heritage. At 6 o'clock, Battleground Academy plays Loretto. Creekwood plays Page. Warren County plays East Nashville. At 7:20, Phillips of Alabama plays at Lawrence County. At 7:30, Lighthouse Christian of Antioch is at Blackman. Also at 7:30, Clarksville is at Gallatin. Green Hill is at Independence. Joe Burns is at White House. Arlington is at Beach at 8:30. And at some point today, Ravenwood takes on Station Camp. Tuesday morning, boys basketball action. Mount Juliet plays Franklin at 10. At 11, Spring Hill plays host Hancock County, Kentucky. That's again at 11. And at 11:30, Rockvale meets Webb School. Women's basketball action today. Trevecca was at Ashland at 12 noon. And at 2 o'clock, Tennessee Wesleyan is at Lipscomb. That game can currently be seen on ESPN+. Men's basketball action at 2 o'clock. Trevecca was at Ashland. And the Myrtle Beach Bowl, Marshall took an early lead on UConn. That one was 7-0. That game started at 2 o'clock and can be seen on ESPN. Let's see what else we got. At 7 o'clock tonight in the National Hockey League, the Edmonton Oilers take on the host Nashville Predators. Again, that's a 7 o'clock start and can be seen on Bally Sports South. And at 7:15, Monday Night Football, the Rams are at Green Bay. 7:15 again on ESPN+. No, just ESPN. Sorry, my bad. I'm a little delirious because that is your rundown.
That was very well done, Mo. I mean,
I don't know if it was well done, but it was done.
It was done. You're right.
It was done. It was done. It is done, and I'm happy. Yeah. Top story. A little transfer portal activity over the weekend. Texas offensive lineman Andre Carrick changing shades of orange as the 6'5", 306-pound tackle will be heading east to the other UT, as those people in Austin put it.
Right.
2 starts, 26 appearances over the past 2 years for the University of Texas. Played left tackle as a true freshman for the Longhorns in a 55-23 win over Colorado. Played in 3 games that year, played in 11 games this past year as a redshirt freshman. So he has, it appears, 3 years of eligibility remaining at the University of Tennessee. And with Darnell Wright announcing late last week that he will play against Clemson in the Orange Bowl and then make himself available for the NFL draft, this is probably pretty good news for Josh Heupel and the University of Tennessee in the offensive front. So Andre Carrick leaving Texas, heading to Tennessee. Also in the portal news, locally, former Columbia Central standout two-way defensive lineman primarily, Nante Davis, who has played the past 5 years at UT Martin, redshirting as a true freshman and then getting a year of eligibility as a result of the pandemic, will transfer to Western Kentucky as a graduate transfer. We should have something up on the website, mainstreetmurray.com, here in the next hour or so on that development. But Nante Davis leaving FCS for FBS play for his final year, and he will play at Western Kentucky, which means he will unfortunately play against my Blue Raiders. So we'll see how that goes. But,
oh goodness, that's never
that's never good. No, exactly. So but congratulations to him, and continuing to pursue his collegiate career and hoping to put himself in position to play at the next level, as he says in the article that, again, we'll have up pretty soon on mainstreetmurray.com. So be on the lookout for that.
Have they had enough situations where someone's gone into the portal, or enough people gone into the portal for it to be deemed a success, or is it something that they kind of want to stay away from? Is there not enough sample size at the moment? Kind of.
I don't know that it's numbers that they're looking at in terms of the portal being successful or not. I just think, and this is just me kind of spitballing here a little, right, Justin. There's probably smarter people than me out there with a more credible opinion about it, but I just feel like the fact that the athletes have a little bit more control of where they go and what they do, I think that's a good thing. I just think everybody was free to move except the athletes. And now, does it need some type of, I don't know that it needs to be as free as it is. I think there needs to be some toning down of it. I mean, we talked last week about JT Daniels, the quarterback from everywhere, USC, Georgia, West Virginia, now being back in the portal again. I don't know that it necessarily needs to be freedom of movement to that degree, but there you would like to think that there's got to be some kind of happy medium between that and the way things were pre-transfer portal, in my opinion.
And it makes sense too, because, you think about it, and I guess because they're going from not being able to do that at all to completely being able to do it, you remind yourself these are grown men. I mean, they're over 18. They're not high school kids, which I know they're getting into NIL with high school as well, but just still, they can make their own decisions. And I think just because they make money doing something that they're good at a young age has nothing to do with how they are as people. Yeah.
And I mean, I think a lot of people are upset about the movement that takes place, and I don't know why, really. I mean, that's your call. That you
right.
Coaches don't have to sign these kids, and if I'm a coach, I would really look a little askew at somebody who's in the transfer portal for a fourth time. Somebody will sign JT Daniels.
You're right, and it could be 4 times is a lot. It could be just the system he was in. But yeah, I think you're right. I think that is definitely something they look at least.
It should. Yeah. Let's go to a break, Justin. And when we come back from it, we should have Terry McCormick of TitanInsider.com to discuss the events of yesterday at SoFi Stadium. We'll be back here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint, right after this.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Hey folks, while we take a quick break from the show, I want to tell you about our friends over at Custom Stone Handlers in downtown Columbia. Ed Rich and his team at Custom Stone Handlers believe in leadership. And outside of the military, our greatest leader building platform is sports. Custom Stone Handlers proudly encourages young people to get in the game. You can contact them today at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at JonesandLang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, ZionEagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's ZionEagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Are you an enthusiastic sports fan? Want to have fun and get in on the action?
Heck, yes, that'd be awesome.
Have great attention to detail? Want to stay active?
Definitely.
Want to give back to the student athletes in your community?
Obviously, yes.
Then you'd make an excellent high school sports official. We need more officials in Tennessee. Because with no high school officials, there are no high school sports. Sign up today at highschoolofficials.com.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Maury County schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic injuries, and our Ortho Quick walk-in service lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
Hey, welcome back to Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint. I'm Maurice Patton, Justin Kulik pushing the buttons and sliding the slides and whatever else producers do, because I really don't know. But we are now joined, as we said, by Terry McCormick of TitanInsider.com. Terry, I guess we should probably discuss the Titans, though it's getting to be increasingly more painful to do so with each passing week.
Yeah, really is. I mean, 4 in a row now, they've not won in a month. And yesterday, they came close and then, lost when Justin Herbert took the Chargers down the field in the final 48 seconds. So, that's a tough way to lose, but this is a team that has kind of lost its rabbit's foot, so to speak.
Yeah, you're right. And as you mentioned, the 17-14 final, the Chargers pulled one out on a field goal with 4 seconds remaining on a drive that started with 48 seconds to play after the Titans scored to tie it at 14-14. One thing I used to say as a summer league baseball coach, Terry, and I was in both these situations, I'd rather get blown out than lose by 1 or 2, because you just pick those close losses apart. When you get blown out, it was just a blowout. I think most everybody heading into this matchup expected the Titans to get blown out, and I think that makes 17-14 on a field goal inside the final 4 seconds even more painful.
Yeah, I think it probably does. And I also think that it's just the way that they lost the game, just the way everything unfolded, because you saw how well the defense played to keep them in that ball game. And they were doing it with, spit and baling wire, as they say. And they were just trying to duct tape together a decent performance, and they were able to do that. And I think when you look at that and then you flip it over and you see the struggles of the offense, they just could not consistently put anything together. And then when they finally do at the end of the game, they're able to, protect Ryan Tannehill long enough, and he's out there playing on one leg, and you're getting, big plays from Chigakonkwo and from Austin Hooper to move them in position to score. They finally reach the end zone and tie it with 48 seconds left, and then kaboom, it all comes apart just within a matter of 48 seconds.
And what's tougher is that, we listened to Mike Vrabel talk after the Jacksonville loss last week about not being able to affect the quarterback. We've talked about the turnovers that the defense hasn't been able to create. And the defense went out and did both yesterday. They put some heat on Justin Herbert. They got some sacks on Justin Herbert. They got some hits on him, made him move. They got a couple of pickoffs. One was a play that I don't know that you're ever going to see again in the National Football League. Roger McCreary flipping one back into Josh Kalu right before halftime to stop a go-ahead touchdown there for the Chargers. I mean, they did everything really that you needed to be able to do to win a ball game for 59 minutes and 12 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what I think is disheartening. And instead of, being able to carry that game to overtime and maybe escape there with a win, it just goes into the L column, and that ever shrinking lead that they have in the AFC South is now down to 1 game, because the Jacksonville Jaguars are all of a sudden playing, looking like the 1989 San Francisco 49ers and just rolling through people here. And the Titans will be lucky if they are able to hang on to this division lead and make the playoffs with the way things have gone over the past month.
And that brings up, be lucky if they are able to hang on to it. At this point, is it best for the Titans to hang on to it? Is it best for this franchise to be a 2022 playoff team?
Well, that's certainly a legitimate question, because if you go in and you're one and done in the playoffs, like most people expect would happen right now, you're going to pick somewhere around 22 or 23. If you lose out and you miss the playoffs, you're going to gain a handful of spots there. You're not going to pick in the top 10, but you might get up to around 16 or 17, depending on, where some of these other teams that are also Rands, like the Browns and the Raiders, finish up their seasons. So it's going to be interesting to see, what transpires and what is the best course of action. And I guess I would answer that with another question. And that question is, are you retooling? Are you going to try and patch this thing together, have a good draft, have a good off season and free agency, get some bodies healthy and take one more shot at it in 2023? Or are you ready to start tearing it down and waiting for the next window to open? Because if you're going to do that, then you've got to be good again when you want to move into this new stadium that's being proposed in 2026. Because, as nice and shiny as a new stadium might be, I don't think anybody wants to go see a team play in it and go 6-11.
I think you're absolutely right. And then you throw into it the uncertainty as far as if you're picking at 16 or 17, or if you're picking at 22, 23, who's picking?
That's a fair question as well. We don't know that right now. We don't know who the general manager is going to be. We don't know if that guy is going to be on equal footing with Mike Vrabel, if he's going to be a boss of Mike Vrabel. I don't think that's going to happen. Or if he's going to answer to Mike Vrabel, which I think is a distinct possibility. So it's going to be interesting to see. There are a lot of questions to be answered. In fact, there are a lot more questions than answers about this team right now. Now, on the flip side of what you asked, if you're still playing and you still think you can win the division, it's not, I don't think this is a Super Bowl team. I don't think anybody is saying that. But if you could get a few healthy bodies back, if you could get Traylon Burks back and healthy, contributing like he was in the couple of games before he got hurt again, if you could get Danico Autry and Zach Cunningham and maybe David Long back, or get some help in the secondary. You've only got really one spot left to pull somebody from IR. You got to figure out who that's going to be. Is it going to be David Long? Is it going to be a secondary man? Is it going to be, somebody on the offensive side of the ball? If you could only get, one more back, if you can get Autry back, is that enough to maybe turn this thing around and maybe win an ugly playoff game against, say, Baltimore with Lamar Jackson out right now and probably not 100% when he does come back? That looks like your best shot to beat somebody in the playoffs, because it certainly doesn't look like you're going to catch, Cincinnati or Miami with all the firepower that they have, having an off day at Nissan Stadium in the first round of the playoffs.
Terry McCormick with TitanInsider.com joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Terry, as you go through all the scenarios there and you talk about, getting one last person back from injured reserve. I mean, that's kind of the frustrating thing about this team, even with all the injuries that they have incurred this year, after all the injuries that they incurred last year. They were good enough to beat a pretty good Chargers team yesterday on the road.
I mean, they were good enough to get it done. They just didn't. And, that's probably part of the frustration that lies in this organization right now, is that they just, I guess the best way to say it is there's basically zero margin for error. Everything has to fall a certain way for them to win a football game right now, and that's not happening. And I think that the injuries have done that. And to a certain degree, Maurice, I'll say this, their style of play has done that. While their style of play keeps them in a lot of ball games, playing tough defense, running the football, controlling the clock, trying to put together 10 and 12 play drives, that style of play also hinders them at times. because they don't have the weapons on the outside to compete with the likes of the top teams in the AFC, like Kansas City, like Buffalo, like Cincinnati. Do you think the Titans could have done anything close to what the Minnesota Vikings did on Saturday in erasing a big deficit? Do you think they could have done what the Jacksonville Jaguars did to Dallas yesterday? They just don't have that type of firepower. And so to me, this team is not only has a small margin for error in terms of personnel and injuries, they have a small margin of error in terms of the way they're built and the way that they play football. It keeps them in games, but it also can knock them out of games early if they fall way behind, like we've seen them do a few times.
Keeps them in games, and it keeps the other team in games as well.
Exactly. I'll give you this stat right here, and this should tell you everything you need to know about the 2022 Tennessee Titans. Coming into this year, regular season, playoffs, and all, they were 25-3 when Derrick Henry rushed for 100 yards in a game. This year, they're 4-3.
Wow. So even a constant like a Derrick Henry, who went over the 8,000 yard mark for his career yesterday, has exactly 8,100 yards.
Nice. But even the sure thing, or what looked to be the sure thing with Derrick Henry gets 100 yards, this team wins football games, is no longer the sure thing because of the way this season has gone for the Titans.
And, Terry, that's something that we've discussed. We've discussed it in the press box at Nissan Stadium. Run the ball and play defense was the formula for winning football games at every level for as long as football has been played. It seems as if perhaps that's no longer necessarily the case.
I think you're exactly right. Find a quarterback with a strong arm, and if he's got some mobility, all the better. Find a fast guy who can run under it and catch it, or catch the short pass and make somebody miss. That seems to be the formula in 2022.
And the Titans certainly don't have that.
No, they don't. No, they don't.
And even if they did, it all comes another thing that has not changed since the beginning of football. It all starts up front. And the offensive line for this team has not been great.
No, you're right. And that's an area that, whether you're patching it back up and sending it out for another go in 2023, or if you're burning it to the ground and starting over, that's an area that needs an overhaul. That's an area that needs some serious look in the offseason to say what's being done wrong, what's being done right. How can we fix what's wrong and make it right? Is it simply a matter of personnel? Is it a matter of some of the things that they're not doing strategically in terms of scheme and game plan? What is it? But whatever they determine that it is, they need to fix it. Because you remember after the 2020 season when the defense was just atrocious and couldn't get off the field on third down,
Right.
Mike Vrabel and then, of course, John Robinson determined that what was wrong with the defense was not the coaching, as a lot of people surmised. It was the personnel and the lack of playmakers on the defensive side of the ball. So through the draft and free agency, they retooled the defense, and it's been pretty solid ever since. The question now becomes
when healthy.
What's that?
When healthy.
Exactly. And then the question now becomes, does the offense need a change in personnel, or does it need a change in philosophy? I happen to think it needs some of both.
Yeah, I think you're right. And to that end, Terry, how did you feel like the Dylan Radins at left tackle experiment went yesterday?
Well, it seemed to go okay until he got injured and knocked out of the game like everybody else that seems to suit up for the Titans does. So now his status is back in limbo. We don't know how serious his knee injury is or whether he's going to be able to come back and play this season. I don't think he returned to the game yesterday. And then when Dennis Daly had to come back in, he proved yet again that he's not the answer at left tackle. And so it's going to be interesting to see if Radins, one, is healthy enough to play, and two, if they thought he was enough of an upgrade that they're going to make that move and go with him now.
If Dennis Daly is the answer, it's a pretty rough question for sure. Terry McCormick with TitanInsider.com joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Terry, you got the Texans coming in here on Saturday. That should be fun, huh?
Yeah. I'm not looking for a huge crowd with a, Christmas Eve, a high of about 18 degrees predicted. And, the Titans on a 4-game losing streak, and I think the Texans on a 9-game losing streak. So might be plenty of good seats available.
Good seats available. Something's got to give, though. I mean, maybe that's what the Titans need coming in here, a little Christmas gift on Saturday.
It could be. It certainly can't hurt. But in case you haven't been noticing, though, the Texans have played pretty well the last couple of weeks. They should have won 2 games in a row. Should have beat the Cowboys, and then they should have beaten the Chiefs yesterday, amazingly enough. So, they've been playing better. I'll say this. Credit to Lovie Smith for keeping that team interested in playing when they've got nothing to play for except tee times.
Well, Lovey's a pro, and he's kind of bringing that out in the Texans there. So you got the Texans coming in here on Christmas Eve. You've got Dallas coming in here the Thursday night after Christmas, and then we wrap it up at Jacksonville. Is that right?
That's
or
right.
Am I missing
that
one?
Might be for all the marbles.
Or, as Brent Musburger would say, all the Tostitos. Terry McCormick, TitanInsider.com, joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Terry, appreciate your time and your insight, man, and we will catch up with you. Stay warm.
All right. Thanks for having me. Merry
All righty.
Christmas.
Hey, thanks. You too. Hey, we're going to take a break, and when we come back here on Main Street Sports Today, we're going to react to some baseball news from over the weekend. So stay with us. Again, this is Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint.
This is Chris Yao with Main Street Sports Today. Every show, Mo Patton and I welcome friends from all across the sports landscape, from high school coaches and reporters to national, college, and pro sports personalities. You never know who might stop by for a chat. AP Tennessee Sports Editor, 3-time Tennessee Sports Writer of the Year 2020 TSWA Hall of Famer. She covers the Titans, the Predators, the Grizzlies, college football, and hoops. Please make welcome Teresa Walker.
Former University of Tennessee, former Team USA Olympian, ex-Cy Young Award winner, R.A. Dickey. R.A., did I miss anything?
Man, that was sweet. Yeah, I need to listen to that before I go to bed every night. That was nice.
Has 5 sports Emmys. That's not bad for the other guy in Wham, Ryan McGee.
The other guy in Wham married the best looking girl, Bananarama, so the other guy in Wham had a pretty good life.
From preps to pros, we're taking on the sports topics you care about. Tune in across Main Street Media social platforms at 2 p.m. or on demand on your podcast distribution platform of choice.
Welcome back to Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. I'm Maurice Patton. Chris Yao is, well, I don't want to say doing daddy duty, but a little bit more intense daddy duty, I guess, with a sick one at home. So hope Chandler and Charlie both get to feeling better. And that's tough right here at Christmas. Sick kids is never fun, but especially now. So hopefully everything gets better in the Yao household. So Justin, it's just me and you, man.
I know, man. I know it's a Justin and I almost call myself Chris.
Yeah.
It's a Justin and Mo day.
Justin and Mo production. Yeah. Hey, how did Mornings on Main Street go this morning?
It went interesting. I will say that it was sort of a scramble. I, as well as I do, Chris is one of the hardest workers I've ever met. So it kind of just, for me, when I was getting the prep ready and the show prep ready, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot he also does this. So I got to do too. So I got the broadcast out on time, but other than that, went pretty smooth. Missed him, of course, but
he's kind of that glue guy, man. And a lot of times those type guys, you don't miss them until they're not there. So, but what happens in those situations though is you just got to do the best you can and get it out. It's kind of like writing. Not everything you write is going to be a Pulitzer Prize winner, but sometimes you just got to write something and go.
I hear you, man.
Most of the time in my case, but anyway, so what most Braves fans had kind of resigned themselves to finally took place Saturday as shortstop and Vandy boy Dansby Swanson signed a 7-year, $177 million deal with the Chicago Cubs. Now, this is kind of interesting in that Dansby's newly minted wife, Mallory Pugh, is a professional soccer player. Guess where she plays?
Where'd she play?
She plays in Chicago.
What?
So, I mean,
was that a conversation at the dinner table then?
I think it might have been a conversation on the honeymoon, maybe, because they just got married about a week ago. So
that would be the time to bring it up, I would assume.
Yeah. So, here's the thing. Congratulations to Dansby Swanson.
Right.
He got his money. He's going to be able to work every day in the same town that his wife works in. He got his ring, as Chris and I discussed about 2 weeks ago. He's an Atlanta native, but he did about everything that you would have wanted to do in Atlanta.
Absolutely.
And now he got his money and he gets to live year round in the Windy City, I guess, if that's what he wants to do. Or heck, 7 years, 177, he can live wherever he wants to.
The Antarctica would be fine. I was
wherever.
Who is and it's slipping on my mind because I wish I was I am a Braves fan, of course, but the first baseman, it was a couple years ago, maybe last year.
Freddie Freeman.
That
guy.
The backbone in my eyes it wasn't anything like that, was it? Like it wasn't like
it depends on who you ask. There are those that would tell you that Swanson had kind of ascended to that spot with Freeman's departure this past offseason to join the Los Angeles Dodgers. That, I guess between him being from Atlanta and having been their opening day shortstop for the last 6 years, that there were feelings among some that he was that leader.
Right.
If there's only one, again, there are those that would tell you he was it. I'm not necessarily sure that that's the case, but
I got you.
Clearly he's going to be missed. I mean, again, he's he and Rafael Ramirez are the only players in Atlanta Braves baseball history to make 6 straight opening day starts at shortstop. So,
and that means a lot to the fan base. I feel like, like one of those kind of stats is for the Atlanta Falcons Braves fan base.
It means a lot for the fans. I think it means a lot just in terms of the continuity of the franchise, but at the same time, these things happen and you got to move on. I mean, they're still going to play baseball at Truist Field 81 times in 2023, and they will find somebody to put it shortstop. Now,
that's a good point.
They missed out on the other 3 big free agents, or I don't even know if they missed out because I don't know if they swung, but Carlos Correa. I
would always like to wonder if there was a shot, like from I know it will never be put out publicly from the front office. It would be cool to know as a fan if the attempt was made, because you look at it, you're like, this person is on the market, they're amazing. Was there a conversation in the front office of how can we get this guy? or was there just no conversation at all?
And that's a good question, Justin. And I think that's a question that the fans always want to know. How close were we? Were we in the ballpark? That kind of thing. Apparently, the Braves offered 6 years, $100 million at the All-Star break, and when that didn't go over so well in the Swanson camp, then that may be as far as it got. So, and again, 7 years, 177. I mean, that's clearly not a ballpark that the Braves were going to play in.
Right.
Again, there were 4 big-time free agents, shortstops out there: Swanson, Carlos Correa, Trey Turner, and Xander Bogaerts, and all of them then went elsewhere for big-time cash and big-time years. Correa signed for 13 years, $350 with the Giants. He was the last one. Trey Turner went first, 11 years, $300 million with the Phillies, and then Bogaerts went for 11 years and $280 million with the Padres. So, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, was that a market reset, you think, for that position?
I don't know if it was a market reset necessarily. I think for those guys, that was pretty much what the market demanded. I don't think that's, your run-of-the-mill shortstop. I think those guys are widely, particularly Correa and Turner, are widely viewed as probably the top 2 shortstops in baseball.
Right. So it kind of just makes it's kind of a coincidence that they were all that good,
and they were all on the market at the same time.
Right. Gotcha. I didn't know if it was like an Antonio Brown deal where he got this huge contract, kind of reset it's like, all right, now every wide receiver needs to get paid this much.
yeah, including AJ Brown. No, I don't know that that's necessarily the case, and I don't know that we will know maybe until next year's free agent shortstop class hits the market, and we see what happens as far as their money goes. But that's a heck of a question, Justin, and I think it'll be something to kind of keep an eye on
for sure
over the next off season. So again, now the Braves get to figure out what they're going to do at shortstop. They're going to put one out there.
What do you think they're going to do?
Well, I don't know. I mean, Vaughn Grissom is the kid that came up that started the year last year at Class A and finished on the Braves major league roster, playing primarily at second base once Ozzie Albies and then Orlando Arcia got hurt, and played pretty well in spots and played like a guy who started the year in Class A in spots. Now, what happens with a year virtually of major league experience under his belt and with some intense off-season work with infield guru Ron Washington, clearly that's going to be interesting to keep an eye on in spring training. Is it Orlando Arcia, who played shortstop for the Brewers prior to coming to Atlanta and did a heck of a job at it? So I think they have some options on the roster. There are some other options outside the organization that will bear watching. As a Braves fan, though, I mean, in AA, in Alex Anthopoulos, we trust. So we'll see what happens with it. But again, I'm fascinated by the members of the Braves fan base who are either upset with Dansby for leaving,
like at him personally.
Yeah. I mean, how he was supposed to turn down $25 million a year for 7 years.
See, as Dansby Swanson, obviously I can't speak for him, but that would hurt. That would hurt my feelings. You know what I mean? It's like, how could you? A reasonable person looks at that and logically thinks, you gotta go. You gotta go.
And I'm not mad at him. And I'm not mad at the Braves front office for not saying, well, if that's what you want, we'll give it to you.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Same. Very much so.
So, I mean, there are decisions that have to be made. He made his. The Braves made theirs. He's going to go play in Chicago. Now, I hope he enjoys the World Series ring that he got last year.
Yes.
I don't know how the Cubs, as currently constructed, put themselves in position to get him another one.
Right. And I know football is more my forte, but I do love baseball. and I do keep up with it a little bit. It doesn't really strike me as one of those sports where you get a ringer player and it can turn your whole entire season around, as opposed to like Joe Burrow coming into the Cincinnati Bengals and then going to the Super Bowl the next year. You know what I mean?
It's not that simple. Now, the Cubs have been pretty active this offseason. In addition to signing Swanson, they also signed Cody Bellinger from the Dodgers, pitcher, and a couple of pitchers. Starter Jamison Tallon, Taillon. I've never known how to pronounce it. I've never heard it pronounced. I've only read it. And then reliever Brad Boxberger. So I mean, they have again been pretty active.
Gotcha.
They're trying to get some things done, but the NL Central is, with the Brewers and the Cardinals, they've got some people that they have to jump over, and it's going to be a lot. It's going to be tougher for the Cubs to get into that postseason mix, I think, than it will be for the Braves without Swanson to stay in that postseason mix. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be bear watching for sure. But
definitely,
yeah,
could be one of those things where it swings either way.
Yeah, and it happens, and you never know what's going to go on with free agent signings and how they're going to work out. Swanson coming off of, the best 2 offensive seasons of his career. Obviously, he hit 27 home runs 2 years ago and hit 25 this past year. Now, we've seen stretches where Dansby Swanson offensively carried the Braves, and then we've seen stretches where he was an anchor,
right?
Anchor down, as they say. I mean, so can he sustain that offensive success
in a new system and
in a new stadium? I mean,
exactly,
in new surroundings and the whole thing. I mean, so it again, 28 years old, he should be just kind of getting into his prime. Maybe what we've seen the last 2 years is what Dansby Swanson's going to be while continuing to play great defense. So
like just kind of like a rock type guy.
Yeah. Or maybe he, regresses to his norm, and the Cubs have signed yet another bad contract. Apparently, this is the second largest total value contract in Chicago Cubs history. The only bigger contract that a Cubs player has signed is 8 years, $184 million, and it didn't work out as well as either they or Jason Hayward would have liked. So,
gotcha.
Yeah.
You mean they didn't pay Sammy Sosa's contract's not up there?
Different time. Time.
That's true. That's true.
But those two and another shortstop, Alfonso Soriano, who got 136 over 8 years. Those are the only 3 guys that they have ever signed for 7 years or more. And
so that one was kind of worth it.
Yeah. Soriano was not bad when he was there. So, interesting stuff. Justin, let's go ahead and take a break.
Alrighty.
And when we come back, let's swing into a little college basketball, particularly Southeastern Conference college basketball, particularly University of Tennessee college basketball with Caleb Calhoun from Off the Hook Sports. When we come back here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint.
This holiday season, the largest lantern event in the country returns to Nashville Zoo. After sunset, come see more than 1,000 Chinese lanterns. All new designs including mythical beasts, a fantastical North Pole village, even a dragon soaring over your head. Welcome back to Zoo Illumination at Nashville Zoo. Bigger, brighter, and better than ever.
This is attorney Bart Durham, and this is me. I'm Aaliyah. Keeping in good physical condition is really important to me. But when I had a wreck with a tractor trailer truck that hurt my leg so bad I couldn't work for almost a year, I knew I needed a lawyer that understood tractor trailer cases. So I called Bart. Bart gets millions of dollars for his clients every year.
At Bar Durham Injury Law, we've handled hundreds of tractor trailer cases.
My dad and I want to help. Give us a call at 615-242-9000.
Walmart Supply Chain is hiring in Lebanon. Earn up to $22.25 an hour when you join our new fulfillment center. Enjoy competitive pay and premium perks, including 100% paid college tuition, 401k match, flexible schedules, a free Walmart Plus membership that includes discounts, and free Paramount Plus, paid time off, and so much more. Fulfilling work starts right here. Text JOIN to 240-240. That's JOIN 240-240 to apply now.
Sorry, Mo, I got you on the.
No, you're fine, man. I'm trying to turn this TV down, and my remote is not working, so I guess I'm just going to turn it off. I was trying to get an update on Marshall and UConn, and
I like the aggression.
yeah, it's very irritating when stuff doesn't work. So
I totally feel that.
I think my batteries have gone dead on my remote. So
well,
sorry
if it's
about
any
that.
consolation, I can't hear it in the background.
Well, that's a good thing. Sorry about that, y'all. I'm Maurice Patton. Welcome back to Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yao out of action today, taking care of some personal stuff at home. Justin Kulik, as you heard, doing his best to hang with me here as I battle through this thing. But we are now joined by Caleb Calhoun of Off the Hook Sports, focusing on University of Tennessee athletics. And Caleb, Saturday night with Tennessee going out to Tucson, taking on the Air.
I think we're losing Mo a little bit there.
Hello?
Mo, you there? There we go.
I am. Caleb. Yeah, Caleb, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Good. Just wanting to talk a little bit about that UT Arizona game Saturday night. Arizona getting the 75-70 win at home over UT in a game that a lot of folks seem to have some issues with the officiating, but more than that, shots just didn't really go down for UT in that one like you would have liked on the road.
Yeah, I agree. It went both ways. It was because to UT was fortunate that shots didn't really go down for Arizona either. I think that Arizona we always talk about their inside game, but they are a deadly 3-point shooting team. And really neither side shot the ball well from outside. I think Tennessee held its own relatively in the paint, outside of Uras Plavsic, who is, I know he's had his issues, and Rick Barnes was not a fan of how he handled things towards the end. But I also think sometimes you just kind of need that player who is a little bit chippy, who is a little bit, kind of the enforcer down low. I've always felt basketball always, great basketball teams always need that one. Now, Uras Plavsic may not be the one because a lot of people think he walks out on fights after starting them, but
yeah, part of being an enforcer is finishing that stuff up, I guess. But it looked like Arizona kind of had some physical guys in there, and you kind of needed Plavsic on a night like that.
I agree. There's been Plavsic has developed well over the last couple of years. You've definitely seen an improvement this year, but there are still some nights where you're right. It just, you don't see him as a 7-footer play like a 7-footer should be able to play in college basketball. And it didn't help that Julian Phillips just looked like a freshman in the paint, honestly, over the weekend. And I think that was a huge problem too.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, what did he finish with 2 points in the 75-70 loss?
Yeah, and I think they were both free throws. I don't even think he hit one field goal on the night.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate, but at the same time, as you said, Caleb, he is a freshman. I mean, and sometimes freshmen are going to be freshmen, and you don't get to really pick when that is. So, that was a tough night for Justin Phillips to not show up for UT in a top 10 matchup on the road. But other than the loss, I'm not sure how much damage this does to UT. I mean, they went out there and they played pretty well in a, when you look up hostile environment, McHale Center kind of embodies that.
Yeah, that is true. And it's funny because I feel the same way. It's, Tennessee basketball is at a point where no one ever considered the program to be at when you play a top 10 one-loss team on the road that is built like an NBA. I mean, if any team is built like an NBA team, Arizona is, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And you lose by 5 points and you're talking about all the things they did wrong, Tennessee, in that game. And I agree. I really don't think they owe any apology for losing that game, a tough one on the road like that. There's really no shame in that at all. And like we said, they're starting a freshman. They don't have their most versatile defender healthy in Jordan James. And so I really don't think there's anything to be concerned about at all after this game.
And you would think, if you get a decent night out of Justin Phillips, if you have JoJo James, you feel like that thing maybe goes a little different, considering, as you said, it was a 5-point game. So I think a lot of folks wouldn't mind seeing that matchup again, maybe on a neutral court at some point this year.
Yes. And, hopefully, well, I think all Tennessee fans will hope that they are able to manage an inside game and inside presence better than they handled Michigan's inside presence last year in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a problem.
Yeah. So Tennessee comes back home. They take on Austin Peay Wednesday. And then right after Christmas, this might be as early an SEC opener as I've seen in a while. A week from Wednesday, they travel to Ole Miss, and then they've got Mississippi State coming in the following Tuesday, January 3rd. So SEC ball is off and rolling. But I would think that after a tough loss at Arizona, that Austin Peay is a pretty soft landing for UT to get things going again before the holidays.
Yeah, I think they should coast to victory. I think this is going to be one of those games where they, again, don't allow Austin Peay to cross 50, because Tennessee, to their credit, you haven't seen them struggle through any of these easy games this year. I don't think any team has crossed 50 at Thompson Bowling Arena this year. I could be wrong on that, but if it is, it's just one team. So I think that, I think Tennessee should coast to victory easy. I think my question for Tennessee going forward, and, I say this, and everybody's going to bring up Virginia 3 years ago. And I get it. I get Virginia. I don't believe defense first teams usually can win it in March Madness, because at some point you're going to run into a team that shoots the ball well, and there's just no defense for it. And so how are you going to be able to score and match what they're doing becomes the question.
And I think that's a valid point. I mean, they say defense travels, but if you, like you said, if you run into somebody that just goes out of their mind from behind the arc, you've got to be able to match it some kind of way. And invariably, you run into somebody who goes out of their mind from behind the arc. So it's it's a dangerous place to be if you want to rely on your defense. Obviously, you got to play defense. You want to play defense. You want to be good at it. But, you can't hold folks to 52 and score 58 and expect that to be a long-term recipe for success.
Correct. And if it's like the NBA, yeah, it's possible because it's a 7-game series, so you can build your team on defense at that point. But you're right, college, where it's win or go home in March Madness, you got to be able to have 3-point shooters and have an arsenal. And I think Tennessee has potential there. I mean, obviously, Santi Vescovi, just JoJo James, when he's healthy and on, can be deadly from 3. Tyree Key's shown a lot, but when March Madness comes, there's if they're going to run into one of those teams, and they got to make sure they're hitting too, and that's always difficult. I've always made a joke. I'm not the biggest fan of March Madness compared to most people, because I think it is set up in a way to reward. Should I say mediocrity? I don't like to use that term. I don't want to call these teams mediocre, but March Madness to me is no more effective of a way of crowning a national champion than the old college football system with just the BCS.
I see what you're saying, and the one and done type situation really does lend itself to chaos and to not necessarily the best teams always advancing. I think that's what you're trying to get to. Somebody catches lightning in a bottle for 40 minutes and beats a team that maybe 9 times out of 10 they wouldn't, but that's the one time and that's the only time that matters.
Right, exactly. And they get lucky because arbitrarily this day they were hot on a day in a game that was just happened to be designated a win or go home game. So,
well, I think maybe a 64 team best of 5 might not work.
No, it wouldn't. It would not.
Yeah. Caleb Calhoun of Off the Hook Sports joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint, talking a little UT basketball. And the Volunteers were not the only team that went out west and came back disappointed, as on Sunday, the Lady Vols, after getting up 58-50 in the second half of their matchup out at Stanford, fell 77-70. Caleb, I don't know how much of that one you got to see, but I turned it off late when it got to be like 70-63, I think, inside the final 3 minutes, I believe. But that was a tough one. I thought that the unranked Lady Vols were going to show people why they had been ranked earlier in the season against number 2 Stanford, but just couldn't hang on.
Yeah, and I think the disturbing thing for the Lady Vols in this is, to their credit, they played tough on the perimeter. There was a foul disparity in that one, even worse than the Arizona game. The difference was just Stanford didn't shoot as well from the free throw line. But I think the problem and the disturbing part was Stanford had its way with the Lady Vols in the paint down low. And you look at the way Kelly Harper's recruited this team, and I get Tamari Key is out for the year, and we're all thinking about her, blood clots in the lungs. That's just, I can't imagine what that's like. But this is still a really tall team. And I think Kelly Harper has wanted to kind of play inside-out basketball using length inside with three-point shooters on the outside. And I don't see a lot of three-point shooting from Tess Darby and Sarah Puckett on a nightly basis. I saw it from Puckett the other day, but it's not consistent. And I don't see players enforcing their length down low. And I think Kelly, I still think, and we're 3 years into watching this, Tennessee's having a hard time figuring out how Jordan Horston fits in with inside out basketball team that Harper clearly wants to build. And it really reared its head Sunday because Tennessee took care of the ball. I mean, they only had 5 turnovers, but they could not get anything going down low. And that's not how Lady Vol basketball is built. And I don't even mean just tradition with Pat Summitt. I mean, right now it's, the Lady Vols are built to dominate and impose their presence underneath the basket. And they didn't do that at all Saturday or Sunday.
And you mentioned it, Caleb, and it's kind of tough to kind of retool your philosophy in midstream, but this is a team that is less than a week into post Tamari Key mode. I mean, got the crushing news that she's got some blood clot issues and she's going to miss the remainder of the season. And she was that presence in the paint that Tennessee really needs. Now, that said, they were 5-5 without her. I don't know how much of her medical issues were impacting her play. You got to feel like it was, but now she's not out there at all. This is a team that's got to figure some things out without Tamari Key and figure them out pretty quickly.
Right. And they were having trouble figuring things out with Tamari Key. So, I think that this is something Kelly Harper's, you don't want to start talking hot seat, but it's her 4th year on the job, and she loaded up with talent in the all season, and it's almost like maybe she's a victim of too many players. She hasn't really figured out the rotation yet, and but they started out number 4, and there was a lot of expectation that Lady Vol basketball would be back, and so yes, they played Stanford tough on the road, and they deserve a lot of credit for that. Don't get me wrong, but they're still, at the end of the day, I think 7-6 now. So there's still a lot of things that they need to work on. And, 4 years in with Jordan Horston, a senior, a lot of new talent that came in, a lot of transfers. I mean, you kind of have to start raising some questions you don't really want to raise.
Yeah, it starts to get a little uncomfortable, like you said, particularly as active as they were in the transfer portal this past year, bringing in Rikea Jackson and some other folks from some high-powered programs previously. The expectations were there, like you said, losing a couple of tough games to Big Ten opponents at Ohio State, at home against Indiana, kind of set an early tone that you didn't really want to see. And again, up 8 yesterday in the second half at Stanford, and just not able to really finish that thing out. It raises more questions than gives you answers, probably. Kind of a tough spot for the Lady Vols to be in right now.
Yeah, and let's not
go ahead. No, you're fine.
And let's not overlook the fact that there are if we start talking Kelly Harper hot seat, there are a couple of coaches out there right now that Danny White hired when he was at UCF and Buffalo that are doing very, very, very well for themselves. And Katie Abrahamson Henderson is in her first year at Georgia. White hired her at UCF, and Felicia Leggett-Jack is now at Syracuse. And I mean, she's probably the best coach Buffalo ever had. And so, I mean, these are 2 really good coaches. So I think, Danny White's, his track record was making great hires, and he's got now a collection of amazing hires he's made across the board in all sports. And so, I mean, we know that he was one who discovered Nate Oates, who now has Alabama rolling. So the thing is, there are coaches available out there if this doesn't work out. And so that puts a little more pressure on Kelly Harper, I think.
The good thing is the schedule kind of turns a little bit in the Lady Vols' favor here over the next bit. After Christmas, they've got Wofford on Tuesday at TBA, and then they get into SEC play December 29th at Florida, and January 1st, New Year's Day, against Alabama at Thompson Bowling Arena. So they've got a little bit of a cushion here, I guess, but at the same time, they need some good stuff to happen sitting here at 7-6 right now.
Yes, they absolutely do. And you're right, a little bit of a cushion. They get and they also get a much needed break, a 9-day rest. Christmas coming up, they get time to kind of just get right before, and then Wolford is a nice tune-up game before SEC play. So you're right, there's a lot of that. They did play a brutal schedule starting out, and I mean, I've always believed this in college basketball. I never understood the coaches that want to schedule easy to bring along young people. I believe in non-conference play early. You play the toughest possible opponents you can play, and if your record suffers because of it, so what? You get rewarded by the selection committee at the end of the year for that.
And you also get rewarded by you've got something to coach off of. I mean, if you play that soft schedule early, you're just building up confidence that you haven't really earned necessarily. So find out about yourselves, figure out what your deficiencies are, and start trying to address them rather than getting that false sense of security. So absolutely. Caleb Calhoun of Off the Hook Sports joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Caleb, man, appreciate your time and your insight, and we will be checking back in with you as the season progresses.
All right. Thanks a lot for bringing me on. You guys have a good one.
Thank you. You too. Justin?
Yes, sir.
Let's dip out for a second, take our final break of the show. Let's come back and look a little bit at the Preds, look a little bit at some bowl action from over the weekend, and look a little bit at the other area Southeastern Conference basketball team that was in action over the weekend and how they came out. So
Sounds good, man.
we will do all of that when we come back for the final segment of Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Stay with us.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Hey folks, while we take a quick break from the show, I want to tell you about our friends over at Custom Stone Handlers in downtown Columbia. Ed Rich and his team at Custom Stone Handlers believe in leadership. And outside of the military, our greatest leader building platform is sports. Custom Stone Handlers proudly encourages young people to get in the game. You can contact them today at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, ZionEagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's ZionEagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Maury County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic injuries, and our Ortho Quick walk-in service lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
Welcome back to Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. I'm Maurice Patton, Justin Kulik, getting us through the Monday edition here, December 19th, as we try to finish up strong, as a former sports anchor used to say. Justin,
yes, sir.
You sent me something here. If we have time, I want to ask you a Titans cue. Talk to me.
All right, man. I have a question for you, Mo.
I won't know, but I mean, go ahead.
It's more of an opinion.
Okay, good.
Question.
I got those.
Yeah, your insight, I think, would ring true here, or at least for me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the drive that we needed to. Me and my dad looked at each other when the Titans were supposed to drive down to score. They had to go. I can't remember what was it, like 68 yards to tie the game. I looked at my dad and I said, if this is the playoffs, this is the drive we have to do to be able to have any kind of chance in the playoffs against teams like this, not necessarily the Chargers, but this situation is going to happen in the playoffs. We're going to find out who we are.
Right.
We drove down and we scored. We did everything that, as a Titans fan, you would get excited about. And then the other things happened, right? Defense,
right.
And then we lost. So my question to you is, with both of those factors in play, should it discourage me? Was I having false hope, the fact that we made that drive? I mean, do you still think that just because we made that drive that we could possibly win in the playoffs?
I think that drive was a very positive thing because, like Terry said earlier in the show, this offense has struggled a lot over the course of the season. And again, they've not scored a lot. The
Right.
final yesterday was 17-14. But to be able to go down and get a touchdown in a must-score situation, like you said, I think there's some positives to come out of that. So, no, I don't think you're misguided in your confidence with that drive. And again, yesterday was one of the better defensive performances the Titans have had in a while. They just couldn't close it out, and that's unfortunate. But no, I don't think you should be discouraged by
Gotcha.
that. Again, I feel like offensively, like you said, they did everything they needed to do. They went down and they scored when they had to go down and score.
Within 2
And
minutes and
I
Tampa,
think the only thing you might have asked was for them to have done it a little slower.
a little slower.
Maybe taking a little bit more time off the clock and not giving Justin Herbert so much time. You wouldn't have thought 48 seconds would be too much time, but
Well, after I got done celebrating and jumping up and down that we got the touchdown, I was obviously standing and I pointed straight at the clock on the TV and said 48 seconds left is too much time for Justin Herbert.
well, and unfortunately, you were right, Justin. Justin Kulik. Yeah.
the prevent defense, man. I'm not a
Prevent
big
you
fan
from winning, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Very well put.
Nashville Predators fell 3-1 at Colorado on Saturday. They come home for a matchup tomorrow against the Edmonton Oilers, looking to snap a 6-game slide. They last won on December 2nd at the New York Islanders, 4-1.
Aren't the Oilers, don't they have that new Wayne Gretzky guy?
I'm not sure, but I do know that they beat Nashville 6-3 last Tuesday.
Connor McDavid is he's unreal with the puck. I played hockey for 9 years. And I'm not saying that as an accolade or anything. I was a kid when I did it, but I have seen people that are really, really good that were within, my division. And it's just different, man. Like with standing, you could try to get around somebody. Like you can be like, all right, they're going this way. I'm going to try to go this way. They may be more athletic than you, so they're going to juke you either way. But with hockey, if a dude jukes well enough, you look so dumb. And that is what Connor McDavid does to people.
Well,
or Deke is what it's called.
Yeah, Deke. Yes. So that's what the Preds and their fans have to look forward to tonight at Bridgestone. Again, 6-game skid for the Predators, going back to a 5-2 loss at Tampa Bay, followed by a 3-2 home loss against Ottawa.
What's got to give? What's got to give? Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine. I think they've got to find a way to keep folks out of the net. Clearly. Well, it seems to be all over because the 3 goals that they scored against Edmonton last Tuesday, that's the most they've scored in this current streak. They lost 5-2 to Tampa Bay, 3-2 to Ottawa, 1-0 in overtime to St. Louis, 2-1 in overtime at Winnipeg last Thursday, and then this 3-1 loss on Saturday at Colorado. So
find the net, man.
Yeah, they got to find the net, and they gotta protect the net. So we'll see if they can get that done tonight. Want to mention again, Vanderbilt played at the United Center in Chicago on Saturday night, dropped a 70-66 decision to North Carolina State in the Legends of Basketball Showcase. Their second straight loss following that 64-62 loss at home to Grambling back on December 9th. And,
combined points of what, 7? Or that's 4 points.
Yeah, 2-6. Yeah. Lost by 2 to Grambling, lost by 4 to NC State. So
you take any, I know there's no moral victories in any sport, but I hope they just don't feel as down on themselves as, those are close games, man.
They've just got to find a way to win a ball game. Now they beat Pitt 2 days before that Grambling loss, 75-74. but they've just got to find a way to generate some offense from somewhere and start winning some games.
Right.
As we just talked to Caleb Calhoun, they've got Alabama A&M on the 22nd, and then they've got Southeastern Louisiana on December 30th before they begin SEC play. So hopefully they can get some things turned in the right direction there. Hey,
tune-up games.
Yeah, that's going to do it for us here on this Monday edition of Main Street Sports Today. Be sure and join us tomorrow as we do every Tuesday. We should have Chip Walters, the voice of the Blue Raiders, and plenty more to talk about. So again, thanks for joining us. Justin Kulik, great job as always.
You too, sir.
Yeah, we may or may not have Chris Yao back tomorrow, but we're going to have a show either way. So again, join us at 2:00 here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint. We'll see y'all.
See y'all.